This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Monday, November 4th, 2024, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, it will be the latest edition of Between the Pods. I will be joined by Shane Beck. He's a research agronomist at the Iowa Soybean Association. We will hear from Shane coming up in just a little bit, but it's time now for a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Checkoff. You're watching Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Today on Ag Matters PM, it is the latest edition of Between the Pods. I'm joined by Shane Beck, a research agronomist with the Iowa Soybean Association.
It's time to go between the pods with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network and the Iowa Soybean Association. For the next year, we will explore the ways Iowa-grown soybeans are making a difference at home and around the world. Now, here's your host of Between the Pods, Mark Magnuson.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Shane Beck. He is a research agronomist here at the Iowa Soybean Association for Between the Pods. And Shane, wanted to have you on the show here today to tell us a little bit about the Research Center for Farming Innovation's cropping trials. Could you tell us where you're at with this project and kind of just what it entails, please?
Yep. So the improved cropping system is what we call it. It's a 4-year project originally. We're starting year 2, so wrapping up year number 1. So starting of year 2, we've just got our cover crops applied aerially. We still have a few that need to be put on with a drill yet, but this project is a partnership between Iowa Soybean, Iowa Corn, and Iowa State. So all three of us are working together. Iowa Soybeans is leading the charge there, but so Iowa State is growing 4 trials on their research farms, and then we're covering the other, what we hope was 16 farmer sites, but last year we ended up with 12, so a little short on our data. Our end goal there is 80 years worth of data, so going to be we're trying to catch up with adding a few more farmers for the 2-year project, but kind of along with that, there are some payments for this project. There's soybeans. If you grow soybeans, you get $750 a year. If you're growing corn, you get $1,000 a year. And then we provide all the cover crop seed, the nitrogen inhibitor, and the cost of applying the cover crops with the drone.
So Shane, going back to last year then, are there any changes here between what you did with the trials year 1 to year 2, or is it just running it back again to try things over and see how the data lines up?
Yep, so we're just running it back. The only thing that could differ is if you wanted to do your rotation. So maybe last year you grew corn, and if you're going to soybeans this year, there'd be a little bit difference in the protocol there, but not a whole lot.
And from your viewpoint, what is the end goal of this improved cropping system trials? Trying to get to the end goal, what are you looking for, trying to find out with this research and all the data that goes into it?
Yeah, so this trial is a little different than what we kind of do on some of our other trials. This one's combining a couple different systems. So on the soybeans, we're mainly just looking at cover crops versus no cover crops. And then on the corn, we're looking at cover crops versus no cover crops, and then also looking at nitrogen rates and timings. So kind of the end goal here is to increase profitability, improve soil health, and then also protect our water resources. So kind of adding it all together to hopefully make a more sustainable practice.
And we know that all the commodity groups at the end of the day, they're all pulling the rope in the same direction, but it's kind of cool to see the groups come together on a project like this. Is it kind of fun for you to work with these other commodity groups?
Yeah, definitely. We don't always get to work together hand in hand, and I mean, most of the time we focus on soybeans, so it's nice to be able to work on corn and work with Iowa State to help the farmer in the long run.
And then when you bring both of those groups together, there's a lot of brain power all together on one team, I would imagine, as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So Shane, as this project then, again, a 4-year project overall, is that the end goal for this trial?
Yeah, hopefully our end goal is to finish this in 4 years. So ideally we'd have 2 years of soybean data, 2 years of corn data. Just kind of depends on the farmer's rotation. We're not turning anybody down. So if they want to do a couple years of corn and then 1 year soybeans, that's fine by us too.
And then Shane, if you were talking to an Iowa grower and telling them about this trial and what's going into it and what a individual farmer is going to benefit from this trial, what would you tell them?
Yeah, so with this trial, we've set up a diverse farmer panel, is what we call it. They're advanced farmers in this area, so they're working a lot with cover crops and different nitrogen timing. So they're there to help wherever somebody has a question. They've gone through a lot of the trials and tribulations with cover crops, with different nitrogen rates and timing. So they've experienced it, so they can be there to help if a new farmer has questions or concerns.
So are there any farmers that can still get involved for this year number 2, or is it too late at this point and going into year 2?
We're approaching the getting too late for this year, but if you're interested and want to reach out to me, my number is 563-920-1103, or just shoot any one of us an email or go to our website and you can click on it there and get involved.
And still some room to get involved for year 3 of the project, I would assume. Then.
Yep. There's still room for year 3. So right now you'd be in a 2 year. So either you'd be in for 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. So there's still time.
He is Shane Beck of the Iowa Soybean Association, research agronomist. Shane, is there anything else you'd like to let our viewers, our listeners know about this program or what you're excited about it?
Yeah. So we're always trying new things. So this is just a new project to stack more practices on top of each other and see how they interact with each other. So that's something that really interests me, because just changing one variable all the time doesn't always equate to results we want to see. So if we can change a couple variables, see how those interact.
Sounds like a very interesting project. Shane, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it. And thanks for joining me on Between the Pods.
Thank you.
Thank you to Shane Beck of the Iowa Soybean Association for joining today's show. It is time now for our closing market coverage, and we are joined now by Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. At the end of the trading day here on Monday, we are joined by Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. Robin, how did we trade today in the grains?
Well, we really didn't end the day with a whole lot of fanfare. The strength that soybeans had early, and the corn as well, just kind of filtered out by the end of the day. Soybeans really only a couple cents higher, corn just hanging on to gains in the nearby months. Later months showed slightly negative prices. So there wasn't a whole lot really going on in the market. I mean, we had export inspections. We had some anticipation for harvest progress. We saw some good overnight sales, but that really didn't generate a whole lot of support into the market. Some have been talking about the difference that could be seen in the market or volatility based off of the election tomorrow. I don't know if that's really going to have a whole lot of impact, because it doesn't change anything overnight, but that's just my personal opinion. On the export inspection side today, we had corn at 779,078 metric tons, the low end of the trade estimate. Soybeans at 2.158 million metric ton. That was in the middle of the trade estimates, but really good sales. Wheat at 193,523 metric tons, below the bottom end of the trade estimate. So didn't have a lot of impact on the market either as well. But we are overall, on the corn side, we're seeing really strong export sales, and then even inspections and sales. I think inspections are running somewhere around 32% above a year ago. So we are seeing some of that, and some of that's front-loaded ahead of the possible, the outcome of the election, as well as Mexico does front-load a lot of times before the end of the year. And on the overnight, Mexico again purchased 781,322 metric tons of corn for this year, and then 65,532 metric tons for the 25-26 year. So they remain very aggressive in that market. Now, we had 198,000 metric ton of soybeans sold to an unknown destination overnight and 132,000 metric tons to China. Now, we also did have soybean oil at 30,000 metric tons to India. So that was some good overnight in sales that we had seen. Now, last week, we did see corn basis levels by the end of the week. Elevators in Illinois varied from steady to bids as much as 11 cents higher. On some of the river locations, bids as much as 10 cents over the December futures and 25 cents over March futures. So it's really interesting to see with that, the crop that we've had come on board, how we've really seen some decent basis levels there. So it gives the impression that the market is absorbing what we're bringing in as a harvest right now. And the soybean bids were mixed. We've got expectations are for corn harvest progress to be 90% complete, soybeans at 95% wheat complete, winter wheat plantings at 86%, and winter wheat conditions at 41%. And they were low last week at 39%.
Let's go over to the other side of the ag marketplace. How did the cattle and hogs trade here to start the week?
Well, they were lower. Futures on the cattle side were unable to recover from the weakness of last week. We did see that market trend lower because we saw box beef mostly lower each day last week. So it put pressure on the market. And then we had cash trade. Southern cash on the live basis was unchanged. Northern dressed cattle were steady to $3 lower. So we really didn't see a lot of continued strength as some had anticipated as far as the cash market is concerned. Now, the expectations really are for lower cash this week. Feedlots will want to move some cattle. Packers maybe won't need to be as aggressive because 20% of the cattle traded last week were for deferred delivery. Now, even though we did have at the midday today, box beef prices higher, choice up $1.69, select up $1.57, it really didn't have much impact on the market. So that may stay under pressure as we move through this week. The traders want to see a little bit more consistency on the box beef side. Hogs, they were a little bit lower. We saw a little bit of unwinding of some of the bull spreads from last week, putting a little pressure on the closer months. The interesting thing on the hogs was commitment of traders report that came out on Friday, showed hogs last week, or up until Tuesday last week, they established a record long position in the market at 107,169 contracts. That doesn't seem to have phased the traders to trigger any real liquidation at this point in time. They still remain friendly or somewhat bullish to the hogs. Now, National Direct Hog report this morning wasn't enough volume, so we didn't really see a change in cash. But the midday report for cutouts showed up 81 cents. So that's a good sign if they're up. But retail is looking for pork to restock the shelves as consumer demand has really remained strong.
Robin, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
Well, they can call me directly at 877-256-3253, or they can go to the Ag Market website, agmarket.net. There's an 844 toll-free number there, and they can feel free to call in.
Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it as always, and have a great rest of your week.
All right. Thank you, and you as well.
Thank you to Robin for joining today's show. It is time now for a look at those closing numbers, which we can find anytime under the Markets tab of our website at iowaagnet.com.
December corn up 2 pennies at $4.16.5. January soybeans up 3.5 at $9.97 1/4. December soybean meal up $4.30 at $2.99.60. December soybean oil down 74 cents at $45.56. Chicago wheat up 3/4 cent at $5.68 3/4. Minneapolis wheat up 5 1/4 at $6.05 even. Kansas City hard red wheat up 4 1/4 at $5.71 even. December oats down 9 1/4 at $3.90 even. On the Merc, December live cattle down 85 cents at $185.07. November feeder cattle down 52 cents at $246.35. December lean hogs down 85 cents at $83.22. December pork cutout unchanged at $94.55. Class 3 milk down 20 cents at $20.05.
That wraps up our market coverage for today, and it brings us to the end of today's episode. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the notification icon as well to let you know when there's any new videos available. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, X, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you can listen to our podcast wherever you find your favorite podcast at Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. Don't forget as well to check out our daily Iowa Ag Matters podcast. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Dustin Huffman, Riley Smith, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.